Doc shows Marty the clocks and explains that from Einstein's point of view, nothing happened. He
skipped over that minute to instantly arrive now.
And yeah, Doc puts skipped over in quotes like that. George Gipe does it again. But here on page 54 we come on the rarest of gem in this novelization, something that actually improves on the movie. This one took me by surprise, I'd forgotten about it. Anyway, Doc's showing off how the time machine works and punches in some example dates: Declaration of Independence, birth of Christ, and the day he invented time travel, November 5th, 1955. To me the birth of Christ thing in the movie was always weird. Since Doc is a man of science and a man interested in time, wouldn't he realize that, A, there was no year zero and, B, December 25th is a date we landed on to match up with existing celebrations, it's not a literal birthday. But what does book docs say?
Of course, there's some dispute about that date. Some scholars say Christ was born in the year 4 BC and that somebody made a mistake in what year it was during the Dark Ages. But assuming 1225 is correct, all we'd have to do is find our way to Bethlehem. No sweat, Marty said.
And yeah, that scene would slow things down in the movie, but here in the novelization it's a nice little bit of added detail that actually improves the story while underlining for us that the machine can jump through time, but not space. It doesn't fully fix the year zero problem, but whatever, nicely done. This was nice. I admit it freely. Anyway, of course it falls apart after that. Doc says November 5th, 1955. And keeps going.
I believe it was a Saturday. Yes, now that I think about it, I'm sure it was. The weather was kind of grey.
Quick aside, snooze.
What happened then? Marty asked. That was more than a decade before he had been born, so he could only speculate. Was that the Salk vaccine or something like that? He asked, remembering from science class that the polio cure went back to about that time.
Quick aside. Now you know about the Salk vaccine. Then Doc explains how he was hanging a clock and slipped and hit his head, and when he came to, he saw this. No, not the flux capacitor.
And when I came to, I had a revelation, a vision that was absolutely perfect, a picture in my head of everything I needed to do and how I could do it. He gestured to the car. Believe it or not, I saw this. He continued. My dream or hallucination or whatever it was contained a picture of this. Amazing, Marty said, his eyes wide with sincerity.
Doc didn't see the flux capacitor, he saw the DeLorean. He had a vision of a car that wasn't even invented yet, so rather than it being a flash of scientific insight, it was a crazy vision of tomorrow. Business idea. Bottle this version of the story and you can easily sell it as Gentleman George Gipe so LD fashioned weak sauce. It doesn't even make sense, because if Doc knew it was a DeLorean all along, why would he say the reason for building a time machine into one was because it had style? Also, did Doc spend years trying to invent a DeLorean himself before Mr. DeLorean did it for him and that was a real time saver? Did nobody think about this story as they were writing it? Answer key, who knows, apparently so, yes absolutely. Anyway, this page ends with Marty and his wide sincere eyes saying he knows the feeling, because once he woke up in the middle of the night with lyrics and melody to a brand new song literally playing in his head. He wrote them down.
That was small potatoes compared to a scientific breakthrough such as the invention of time travel. But the emotional impact was similar.
In summary and in conclusion, I'm afraid I must now absolutely insist that we all bring back the expression small potatoes. I don't think I've heard it in a decade, but it's so adorable, you guys. Small potatoes. Modern slang is small potatoes. So here on page 55 Doc points out the flux capacitor and says that it's what make time travel possible, like so. And Marty sasses him by asking if flux capacitor is even a real name. You stick it to him, Marty. Doc shoots him down.
It's a logical title applied by me when I decided to describe its function in 1 or 2 words. Any brilliant scientist would have arrived at approximately the same title if given the chance.
In response, Marty chuckles and finds Doc charmingly refreshing. Hello. Then Doc does his speech about how
it's taken me almost 30 years of my entire family fortune to realize the vision of that day. My God, has it been that long?
And then surprise, it's not a rhetorical question and he's not actually sure if it has been that long, so he whips out a calculator and actually does the math.
He reached into his inside coat pocket to withdraw a small calculator. Punching buttons quickly, he said presently, I've been working on this for 29 years, 11 months, and 355 days. Excluding vacations, of course, and a few weeks off for petty illnesses.
Okay, so I honestly like Doc pretending to be data here, and I also like how he describes illness as petty. But, incredibly, those few words of text I've bolded destroy this scene entirely in 3 different, yet parallel, ways. It's actually kind of impressive, that amount of concentrated wrongness in a published book. Especially since it's fiction. But yeah, here we go. Thing 1, we know the exact 2 dates being compared, November 5th 1955 and October 26th 1985, and the distance between them isn't 29 years, 11 months, and 355 days. It's 29 years, 11 months, and 21 days. Gipe is off by almost an entire year. And you don't get the maybe Gipe did it on purpose because he wanted Doc to be wrong, because that doesn't fit with Doc's character at all. Please. Thing 2, even if we say come on Ryan, who's going to double check the math, Doc still says 29 years, 11 months and 355 days, and in what strange eldritch number system does it make sense to list years, months, and then days, but the days can encompass several months? How old are you, Ryan? Oh shucks, I'm 10 years and 252 months old. Incidentally, the current time is 11 to 429 AM, so we should probably get dinner going. Actual conversation? Thing 3, finally. What Doc says here about working on time travel non-stop for decades entirely contradicts what is said on page 26, where Doc is described as having had a series of obsessions since the 50s, and which goes so far as to list them. Remember? Talking to mammals using a universal language? It was awesome and crazy. That page even goes so far as to explicitly say that time travel was just the latest in this wacky series. Hoping to find a solution to this paradox, I've observed that page 26's history is the voice of the omniscient narrator, while I've been working on this for 30 years, or should I say 0 years and 15,765,120 minutes. Speech is done through Doc as a character. There is only one way we can reconcile this. We must conclude that Doc is deliberately lying to Marty about his past right now. But why? What is Doc trying to gain? Or trying to hide? Could it truly be Doc has some shameful dark secret? Could this time machine have been built simply to right some past wrong so horrifying that Doc can't even mention it to his closest friend? Or could it be that Gipe wanted to flesh out Doc's backstory for his novelization earlier on and then either didn't notice or didn't care when it was contradicted later by the script itself? Oh wait. Never mind, it's that last one, it's obviously that last one.